Hi, my name's James, and today we're discussing the balance of payments for the United Kingdom. So why even look at the balance of payments for the United Kingdom? It's because the United Kingdom has relied on London as basically a financial hub for the last 25 years to keep their economy going. It's very important to look at if it's sustainable for the long run. And we can look at the balance of payments to determine this. And all data used in this video and trailing averages come from this Excel spreadsheet. So if you want to verify, you can come here and download it. All right, so let's look at the balance of payments for the United Kingdom now. As we saw before, the United Kingdom runs a structural current account deficit. What this means is they import more than they export. They basically pay out more on interest and earnings abroad than they receive from abroad. And what this means is it needs to be financed in some way, either from foreign direct investment, portfolio investment, or currency deposits, and this needs to be a net positive. More needs to come in than goes abroad from UK citizens investing abroad. So you need to make London very attractive. What this does is basically can fund your current account. And the key idea is to basically, for most countries, is to get this money, pump it into your exports, so that then basically you cancel out your import and export differential, your trade balance, you fix it. And this way your current account improves and you become less reliant on your financial account. But for the United Kingdom, they haven't done this. And for the last 25 years, they've relied on London to finance everything. And what we're going to see is if this is going to work long term or if things are changing. So now let's look at the real numbers for the balance of payments for Q2 of 2022. I've taken the 13-quarter trailing averages and basically got us some numbers we can look at and see what's actually going on. We can see a very healthy diversification of the inflows into the United Kingdom's financial account. And this financial account roughly equals, or is actually greater than, the current account, so it's helping out a lot. We can see there's some reliance on derivatives or FX swaps, but the bulk of it comes from financial inflows of the healthy sort. Foreign direct investment and portfolio investment. The net positives, more foreign direct investment comes in than leaves, and more portfolio investment comes in than leaves. And this is long-term capital commitment. This is very healthy. So this is the net international investment position up here. What this reflects is all the borrowing the United Kingdom does each quarter. So each quarter they're borrowing 13 billion in portfolio, 6.4. What this does is it actually increases the FDI and portfolio investment. What we can see here is 7.5 billion leaving. What this does is it improves other investment each quarter. Because now you have more assets abroad than you have inside the United Kingdom, and this actually improves your position. But over time, the net international investment position, because they keep running persistent financial account deficits, keeps getting worse and worse. What we see is it gets to a certain point where it corrects. So what we see here is the trailing averages for Q2 of 2025, the most recent data. What this reflects is we can see a huge reversal in foreign direct investment. Each quarter on average, 2.9 billion leaves the United Kingdom. And this should be a net inflow, but it's actually a net outflow. What we can see is portfolio investment still coming in, but there's actually a bulk of it still leaving. This is because of the LDI crisis. Pensions now want to invest long-term abroad instead of buying gilts long-term in the United Kingdom. And what this does is it creates a huge reliance on currency deposits. Currency deposits only come in when you raise interest rates. So basically, the United Kingdom is keep interest rates high. In order to keep these in, if they ever cut interest rates, this will reverse very quickly. And what you can see is even with derivatives, which is the most speculative, like foreign FX swaps, they still can't finance their current account. This is because the primary income is blown up, because primary income has collapsed, or the earnings they receive abroad from their interest is basically collapsed relative to their primary income. You'll see in the other video I made, the 17-minute video, the breakdown why this is. But it's not the main focus. The main focus is this deterioration in the financial account. We can also see how the net international investment position has declined significantly. It's doubled in the last 3 years from 171 billion negative to 341 billion. This is because a lot of the financing has gone towards the financial account. Every year, every quarter, they're financing their current account and you build up a lot of debt doing this. And eventually it breaks. And what breaks is the currency. The reason why you don't want to be super reliant on derivatives and currency deposits to finance your financial account is because they can reverse in a flash. During 2008, in the liquidity crisis worldwide, derivatives blew up, 57 billion left in a quarter, and 571 billion deposits left in a quarter as interest rates were cut to zero, and liquidity dried up worldwide as a hunt for US dollars. What happened was, you can see that portfolio investment actually reversed, a ton of bonds was sold off, but these never actually impacted the foreign exchange because the debts were settled in US dollars. So they sold off US treasuries, US dollars, and they financed their margin calls. But these never actually impacted the foreign exchange. And what happened was this financial account never actually offset the current account and the currency tanked. But what did happen after the 2008 currency crash, the British pound, was the improvement of the net international investment position. What we can see here is a massive correction. And basically what happens now is, after this fix, if you think about it, the British pound collapses, all your investments abroad become more valuable in the foreign exchange, because if you were to sell them, you get more British pounds back for them because the British pound's devalued. So now you can restart the process of borrowing to fund the financial account because this is reset. And what we can see is a pattern emerging. Every 8 years or so, like during Brexit, this funding collapses, the British pound collapses, and then this net international investment position resets. It goes from a huge negative position to a positive position after the currency resets. What we can see here in Q4 2024, the specific quarter without any trailing averages, is that a huge amount, 104 billion of currency deposits left after the Bank of England cut interest rates. The UK was lucky enough to receive 51 billion with a portfolio investment or long-term gilts or buying of gilts, but there was still a huge net outflow. This caused a big mismatch between the financial account and the funding of the current account, and basically a collapse in the British pound of about 10%. So this is my prediction of the balance of payments for the United Kingdom for 2026 Q3 to 2027 Q2. I believe that in this period, there will be basically a liquidity crisis worldwide, or the United Kingdom will be in such a bad recession or state of affairs that interest rates will need to be cut. And this will cause the exodus of currency deposits and basically a huge mismatch between the financial account and the current account and cause a big collapse in the British pound. And we can see that the net international investment position is primed for a reset, and that's why I'm betting big money on collapsing.